Welcome to What's Growing at CMC, the weekly segment where I, Daniel,
and I, Talasha, share with you about some of what God is growing here at College Mennonite Church.
This week, though, we will be hearing from Becky and Everett, the chair and vice chair of the church board.
Take it away, Becky and Everett.
I'm Becky Horst, chair of our church board.
And I'm Everett Thomas, chair-elect.
This video is about exciting things that are happening in our outreach ministry here at College Mennonite Church. We'll begin with some history, then share a proposal from the church board, and then end with several stories. First, the history.
In 2015, we listened together for God's call to our congregation and formed 3 strategic priorities. The first one focused on embracing diversity and welcoming, including, and inviting others into our physical space, and spiritual community. A vision campaign raised funds to support this goal, including new outreach ministries.
In 2016, Madeline Maldonado was a guest pastor here at CMC for 4 weeks during Phil Waite's sabbatical. Soon after, she and David resigned from the Arca congregation in Fort Myers, Florida, where they had spent 27 intense years of ministry. Then Mennonite Mission Network asked them to visit congregations in Argentina, and what they saw there was so inspiring that it resurrected their passion for ministry. Meanwhile, here in Goshen, our board began looking for someone to lead new outreach ministries funded by the Vision Campaign. In that coincidence of timing, when the Maldonados were searching for new ministry opportunities, just at the same time that we were searching for new outreach ministry leaders, the church board felt the movement of the Holy Spirit. In 2018, CMC called Madeline and David Maldonado to serve 3-year terms as outreach pastors.
That was a big change for them and us. And we have faced some challenges. Let's just say that a Latino congregation in a big city in South Florida is pretty different from a mostly white congregation on a small college campus in northern Indiana.
But the Maldonados jumped right into ministry here. They focused on building relationships in the community. When the pandemic hit, they pivoted in new directions. Madeline began a food pantry and the COVID-19 fund. David began a radio ministry that is now one of the most popular shows on Radio Horizonte.
College Mennonite Church has changed in the 3 years since the Maldonados came here. We are more diverse. Our average age is younger. We have always been generous, but we have become more generous, not only with money, but also with our time, forming many new relationships.
Earlier this year, you helped to evaluate David and Madeline's ministry through a survey. The survey showed that more than 86% of us want their ministry to continue at CMC beyond the 3 years of Vision Campaign funding. The board considered how to make that happen. We concluded that it would not be wise to simply add support for David and Madeline to the current ministry fund. Instead, the church board is proposing that a special fund be created to support outreach at CMC for at least the next 4 years.
The outreach fund would allow us to meet pressing needs, hold outreach events such as Spanish language worship, and provide some salary support for David and Madeline's leadership. Their task will be to lead us in forming relationships with neighbors and friends who are longing to be part of God's community.
This proposal is a leap of faith. Faith in our generosity, faith in David and Madeline's ministry, and faith that God will provide for this important work. Please pray about the special outreach fund proposal and offer your voice as we discern together the best way forward.
Now, here are a few testimonials from College Mennonite Church folks about David and Madeline's ministry among us, followed by pictures of some from our community.
One of the reasons I like to sit in the balcony on Sunday mornings is that I get a bird's eye view of the people seated in the congregation below me. I see familiar people, and in the past few years, I've seen people who are new to attending. I wonder who they are. So often after the service, I will walk around the circle, talking to people I know, or introducing myself to people I don't know. When I notice a group of new people, I often see David and Madeline with them. And that's not surprising to me because I know that they have already developed a relationship with these persons even before their first time at church. Madeline and David have modeled for us in positive ways how to welcome others to our church. When I look out over the congregation now, my heart is warmed by seeing more diversity, and I'm excited to see us moving beyond some of our traditions as we form relationships with our new sisters and brothers.
College Mennonite Church is so blessed to have Madeline and David as part of our pastoral team. And I've been fortunate to work with Madeline both on the Outreach Commission, where she always seems to have her fingers on the pulse of significant needs around the world, but particularly in Central and South America. And as she set up our COVID food ministry to largely undocumented families in our community who sometimes found themselves in desperate situations due to the pandemic. Her heart for the people was always so clearly demonstrated, and her knowledge so invaluable. Like, this family is from Honduras and would prefer such and such a flour for baking, or this one from Costa Rica and will prefer another. But what always shines through is her hospitality, her genuine concern for those in need. No one, even those who would drop by out of the blue while we would be setting up orders outside the church because they saw we had food, she would never let anyone leave empty-handed. For Madeline, it's a given, a Christ command, if you will, steeped in love, that we respond to the needs of others.
Thanks, everyone.
We hope to see a lot of you at the meeting next week.
And speaking of next week, you won't want to miss What's Growing on May 23rd.
Matthew and Caleb Gunawan are going to be our guest hosts.
Until then, remember, God was, God is, and God will be.
Thanks be to God.
Reaping and sowing, planting and hoeing, there's something showing, popping up through the sod. The Spirit's blowing, new life we're knowing, giving and growing in the garden of God. Reaping and sowing, planting and hoeing, there's something showing, popping up through the sod. The Spirit's blowing, new life we're knowing, giving and growing in the garden of God. Reaping and sowing, planting and hoeing, there's something showing, popping up through the sod. The Spirit's blowing, new life we're knowing, giving and growing in the garden of God.